Welcome to the world of sci-fi stories, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel. Enjoy the listening. Human Armament Report. Begin. Recording case file Human Armament. Report. 001 Field Evidence Primary Source. Intelligence Network Secondary Source. Attempts to capture functioning items for direct study have so far failed, and as such are listed tertiary. Until further notice, it can't be that hard to capture. A ship subject designation 13 AWS Eli. Heavy. Dib escort ship 001 henceforth ship. 001 human designation Cerberus class. Destroyer, the most common combat ship. Seen in the volume range of V11 or higher, any human military fleet is expected to possess numerous ship. 001 most often separated into multiple small groups of 3 to 12 that work together, focusing fire on priority targets in spite of its small V class. For a main combat ship, Ship 001 is not to be underestimated. Field reports document a much greater weapons payload than is to be expected, primarily in the form of a spinal-mounted weapon, such a typically human design, but the thing is an electromagnetic too. This easily earns Ship 001 the heavy ranking in Galactic class, given its low V class. The projectile upon impact will often pierce the hull of the target before shattering, flooding the unprotected inside with an enormous spray of extremely high velocity fragments over a very large volume, shredding systems and crew alike. Even a hit that is survivable will cause so many punctures to the hull and rooms that preventing explosive decompression is nearly impossible. Suspected primary ammunition is unguided. No one can build electronic that can survive that much acceleration. Right, and high density possible. Explosive component. No known case of ammunition surviving impact have occurred, so further study is impossible at this point. Aside from the primary weapon of Ship 001, the vessel has numerous auxiliary weapons, both offensive and defensive, most prominently a large contingent of guided missiles. It's hard to believe anyone uses them anymore. Harder still to believe humans manage to make them effective, and a full omnidirectional point defense array primary defensive capability is rather atypical of clunking human warships focused almost exclusively on active defense. The Armor Ship 001 having the classification of light, suspected reasoning to reduce ship mast to maintain maximum agility as to facilitate the ship's inability to independently aim. The primary weapon field reports as of yet have been unable to gather sufficient data on the engines and sensors of Ship 001, so pending further information, the its classification are suspected to have powerful engines to counter the recoil of the primary weapon, and for flanking maneuvers. Documented primary strategy is, as stated, to gather in small groups and work as a battle pack, wolf pack they call it, using their powerful weapons to take out priority targets and dissuade engagements from other low V class ships. Advised counter strategy is to utilize precision distance weaponry to disable at the beginning of an engagement. Under no condition are V-class ships of 9 or lower to engage weapons, and active defensive capacity renders such attempts void. End. Recording begin. Recording case file Human Armament. Report. 02 Field Evidence Primary Source. Intelligence Network Secondary Source. Tertiary Source Human Propaganda Subject Designation 99 AWS. Superhead Heavy, Super Heavy Heavy 714 Assault Ship 002 henceforth Ship 002 Human designation. That's one giant son of a weight that can't be right. Remind me to confer with intelligence. After this recording, the heaviest and largest known mobile combat vessel in use by the human Navy or any Navy ship 002 has a V rating so high it constitutes a full war fleet by itself. With weapons and armor of such magnitude, a new classification of super heavy had to be made for the A and W class ship. 002 is designed to warp directly into fortified star systems as a first-wave assault to enable more sanely sized ships to later enter the battle in relative safety. When not engaged in assault operations, they remain in orbit of primary human star systems, both as a deterrent to attack and as a sign of human military power. As of yet, only 10 have been confirmed to exist, but it is suspected their true numbers are higher. For the sake of completeness, the recorded names of individual confirmed Ship 002 are First Supremacy Dawn of Dusk, the Unending Stand Bloodbearer, Trillion Gun Salute Trillion, and One Gun Salute. No, it's not a moon, we checked. Most DACA, just kidding, we have the most DACA and Spaceballs. 2 reports state the first 3 were designed and built for use in the human Alec war, but after that they rapidly stopped giving a damn about the names, and it shows human propaganda claims that Ship 002 has never been defeated in battle. While this is presumably possible, it is only given the only confirmed full-scale conflicts they engaged in was the human Alec AK war and the human Scent of Mother Forest First Destined war. While both wars saw a human victory, in all cases the opponents to humanity were of significantly lesser military than ours. Human propaganda also claims that Ship 002 can remain fighting forever so long as it doesn't take damage to critical systems. This is obviously absurd. No ship, even one of V-Class 99, can remain fighting forever. They would have to resupply and refuel. Eventually, the only way that could be possible is if Ship 002 has its own internal matter translocation gate, and building such a thing not only inside a ship but a moving ship simply can't be done, and even if it could, no species is insane enough to carry around the matter. Singularity needed to operate. One excuse my tangent for a moment. Human behavior just frustrates me with their love of absurd names, ugly angular hulls, and lack of tail. I am aware this is supposed to be a study of military capacity to determine if a war should be initiated, but if you ask me, the sooner we end them the better. But back to the two-hoof. Ship 002 does not appear to have any singular primary weapon, but instead hosts a significant array of various weapons, everything from Class G3 planetary sterilization down to Class G14 anti-personnel. Some intelligence operatives believe Ship 002 does also contain Class G2 planetary detonators, and even some who believe it also contains Class G1 stellar detonators, although such baseless speculation is as of yet unfounded. To begin a specific commentary of weapon systems, it must be noted the exact configuration of weapons and hull varies slightly between specific ships, but they remain uniform enough to give a brief overview. Ship 002 follows a moderately altered super structure to most human combat ships, exchanging the sharp angular form built to focus firepower primarily in a singular direction, and instead utilizes a much bulkier design with an emphasis of making every vector defended from every type of attack. Conventional wisdom when engaging a vessel as large as this, if conventional can ever be applied to this monstrosity, is to take advantage of its huge inertia by flanking to attack the vulnerable engines. This is not an option when dealing with Ship 002, as it has no known propulsion mechanism. Reports have confirmed no locations for reaction mass to be used for propulsion, nor any visible structure that could be utilized for movement. Humans, as much as I hate to say it, they can be clever at times, would ever enable Ship 002 to move is entirely internal. Furthermore, it also enables a level of maneuverability that far exceeds what should be possible for a vessel of such a high V-class. Unusual gravimetric readings have been detected around Ship 02 during maneuvers, causing some to speculate the use of gravity manipulation as the source of motion, but humans have never displayed any knowledge of such advanced technology. Recommended focus intelligence efforts into uncovering Ship 002's method of propulsion, the material the hull is made out of, is currently unknown. Intelligence on this subject is limited, even by human standards. We can get spies almost anywhere. How the humans have so far managed to avoid exposing more than surface-level intelligence gathering is beyond me. Records during the human scent of Mother Forest First Destined War have displayed the hull of the Dawn of Dusk to survive a direct impact with a G6 surface-to-orbit planet defense charge without taking any noteworthy damage. This puts it beyond the normal endurance levels for standard human military hulls, which even I must admit is an impressive feat considering how over-engineered humans love to make their ships. Careful examination of the footage shows that the impact site had minimal mass displacement. Simulations report that such results are consistent with impacts of a low-density object hitting a high-density one. However, the typical projectile utilized by First Destined Planetary Defense are alloys of element 74, undergone REM metallization compression techniques. Assuming this remains true in this recording, then the density of the hull of Ship 002, according to simulations, would be roughly consistent with electron-neutral degenerate matter found inside dead stars. I am obligated to include the previous information for sake of completeness. However, personally, I recommend the scientists who made this claim be thrown into the nearest matter singularity as punishment for their stupidity. We have theorized about the applications of electron-neutral degenerate matter to be used as hull plating before, given its theoretically unmatched properties, but such a feat is beyond the capacity, no, even more than that, beyond the sanity of every sentient in the galaxy. As for weapon, Ship 02, as stated, has weapons of Class G3 and below. Only a singular Class G3 weapon is present on each individual vessel, with the exception of most Dukkha. And just kidding, we have the most Dukkha, which have 2 and 3, respectively. The exact details of this weapon are unknown, but it mostly functions like a scaled-up version of typical human electromagnetic propelled kinetic rounds. Only one case of this weapon being fired has ever been recorded, which led to the surrender of the Galactic moments later, so information is extremely limited, but it was reported that the typical magnetic signature expected of human weapons wasn't detected. Instead, further gravimetric anomalies were detected, leading some to speculate they replaced the electromagnetic propulsion with a gravitational one, which would indeed enable a much greater maximum velocity. But once again, I must iterate that humans have never been recorded having access to such advanced technology for Class G4 to G7 weapons. Expect every vector of attack to be covered by everything. I could go into detail about the weapons you would face, but it would be easier to tell what you won't be facing. The humans built this thing with the intention of covering every atom of its hull and guns, and they were not far off from succeeding. Advised counter strategy is to deny Ship 002 from utilizing its overwhelming firepower and then starve it out. A direct assault would be extremely costly, and if the more extreme speculations are true, ineffective by luring it into a system of minimal importance, then jamming its intersystem engines with ships hidden behind the other side of the star. We should be able to eventually force the vessel to power down its systems and hopefully even run out of power entirely, allowing us to capture it, as only a small number of Ship 002 exists, sacrificing a minuscule contingent of star systems to hold them in while the rest of the fleet attacks. Shouldn't be a significant drain on resources. Care must be taken once they are trapped. However, as humans, as insane as they may seem, are not stupid and will not fall for the same trap twice, and should even one break free, chances are they will send it to free the others if trapping them proves ineffective. Then, as a backup plan, they are to be stalled for as long as possible while the main invasion of human space is underway. We should be able to capture vital human systems and hold them hostage to force a surrender. It cannot be stressed enough that while the total number of Ship 002 are minimal, and thus are not expected to be a significant factor in the war. A combined assault by multiple of them in a single system will not be a winnable fight without pulling the majority of our fleet into defense, which would leave the majority of our territory defenseless. Human military doctrine favors winning wars as quickly as possible, but also avoiding casualties on the enemy side as much as possible. This is our advantage as long as humans think. This isn't a war of extermination. They won't fire on planets hosting civilians, allowing us to eventually force a surrender, at which point we can force them to decommission their fleet and finish them off. End recording. Begin recording. Case file. Human Armament Report 03. Captured equipment. Primary source Field Report. Secondary source Intelligence Network. Tertiary source. As a personal note, I would like to thank the command for fabricating the rebel terrorist attack on Border World Aurora 17, then asking for humans to assist in peacekeeping, as to lure units in for study. The information provided has proved very valuable. Subject designation 19 personnel. Anti-personnel anti-vehicle precision distance weapon 001. Henceforth weapon 001. Human designation sniper rifle 24 mm, and in at least one case hugs and kisses. Signed Mix. Intelligence is still trying to decipher the meaning of the last one. Weapon 001 is a deceptively simple item. Before a functioning model could be obtained for study, it was suspected the design and method of construction was one of immense complexity, primarily due to the obscene distances at which a weapon that can be wielded by a typical infantry unit can still maintain perfect accuracy. However, after study of weapon 001, it was confirmed that the design is so lacking in any advanced technology, or any technology, that most of the team studying it didn't even believe it to be a real weapon until the unit that recovered it confirmed that this exact weapon managed to obtain 17 kills, 6 of which were terrorist leaders. In a meeting for completeness, the person using this weapon was never located. It is believed he dropped the weapon and ran after completing their objective. Almost zero moving parts, actually 0 electronic components. The team noted that the lack of complexity could actually be seen as a benefit. It would in theory make it extremely durable and cheap to produce. A very novel idea. Humans have a certainly unique way of technological advancement we could not have foreseen. This eventuality a theme that remained true for the majority of the study. Further study of weapon 001 has yielded even more unexpected results. First, we tested in our best approximation of normal use, as we currently do not know of the exact methods of training humans engage in, nor do we know of the exact ammunition used by weapon. Music 001. Typical infantry human weapons fire a high-density kick projectile, and study of impact often sights from weapon 001 roughly match the expected patterns of such a projectile. There is, however, notable variance suspected to be caused by different specialist variations on projectile design. Preliminary results have shown that the stories of weapon 001 accuracy over distance are true. Remind me to take back my remarks on Vice Field Leader our SNES heritage. Our team could not perfectly replicate the accuracy of human units, but given the aforementioned missing information and humans' famously good eyesight, a species that evolved to kill things before they can fight back, cowardly and efficient in equal measure, this still puts it within acceptable limits of range. Results remain inconclusive, as once the projected trajectory of the projectile exceeded the curvature of the planet, the impact sites couldn't be located. Further study began to focus on the capacity for weapon 001 to remain in operation over extended periods, as reports of human snipers taking multiple planetary rotations without contact or assistance, but still managing combat effectiveness, needed to be validated. At first, the research team operated the weapon for 50 firing cycles, and then, upon no detectable operational degradation, they operated it for 232 more firing cycles. To no Change in status, I'm honestly impressed. A standard personal weapon of our soldiers would have melted its own barrel in that time if it didn't jam. First, it was at that point we ran out of replica ammunition. Needless to say, no one on the team thought it would last that long, and thus didn't bother to obtain enough ammunition, and had to order more to be manufactured. It was at this point the research team decided to see how far they could push weapon 001. For the sake of completeness, I must include the events that followed, even if they rapidly decayed into almost human behavior. Grabbing weapon 001 and using it as an improvised melee weapon against various targets, setting it on fire for extended periods, burying it in rough aggregate, submerging it in water both hot and cold, running it over with several light, medium, then even heavy vehicles. It was noted that weapon 001 had so far undergone more intense testing than the body armor our own soldiers use. It was battered, scared, and deformed in places, and it still worked eventually. The research team got so desperate to find the breaking point they ordered it be fired upon by vehicle-to-vehicle anti-armor weapons. Some of the team even placed bets that weapon 001 would survive. Unsurprisingly, the weapon 001 did not survive this final attempt to break it. However, it was at this point one of the researchers said something that haunts me. If their weapons take this much firepower to destroy, how much does it take to destroy their armor? End recording.